So what's up, long players? Welcome to the Long Play Listening Party, the show where we go deep on local music, writing, recording, inspiration gear, and whatever else sounds good to us. I'm Howie Howard from Mr. Furious Records. What's up, Nate?
What's up?
And Royce Diamond, how you feeling?
I'm feeling very good.
Excellent. So this is an extremely casual show. We're going to kind of cap what we've been doing here. Wish everybody a happy summer. After this show, we're going to take a little break. Everybody's busy. Everybody's, going places. And we're going to take a little break and see you all in September. But didn't want to leave without kind of telling you what's going on and having a little last conversation. We'll see. We may be joined by a special guest later in the show. We'll see. Maybe, maybe not. It's a roll of the dice, and we'll see what happens. But just to get it started, let's kind of go around and tell everybody what we're. Oh, one more thing before I forget. Background music today. I figured I'd throw something on. We're not going to talk about it, but I released a collaborative night mode album. It's called Magnetismicrosis, and it is a pandemic collaboration with Frank N. Pewter. You may catch the Rocky Horror reference there, but that's available at mrfuriousrecords.bandcamp.com. I'll link it in the show notes, and it'll be the background music, as we get going here. And maybe if we talk about something else, we'll fade that in and have some background music. But anyway, let's go around and tell everybody what we are working on. Nate, do you want to get us started? What are you going to be working on for July and August here?
Well, I've been doing that monthly release thing. So I'll be trying to get that done for July. It always seems to come to the last minute.
Yeah, you love that deadline.
Yeah. It's it's a learning experience. It's fun. The last two that I did, I haven't distributed yet because I'm still not sure what because I did everything. Usually I send it to Royce to master, and I mastered it.
Oh, that's new. Cool.
Myself. So I'm still wondering if that's, I don't know, we can talk about it at some other point. I was going to see what you guys' opinion was, if it was something that you'd think that would be worth distributing, or if I should go to Royce and be like, yo, man, work your wizardry,
So let's make sure we cover, you're putting out a song a month on your Bandcamp, which is?
Astrales.bandcamp.com.
Right.
It's Astrales. That's ASTERALES. .bandcamp.com. That's where everything is. But I am also on, most streaming services, everything that I've distributed, which is most of my stuff. So.
And back at the end of last year, you kind of set yourself this goal of putting out a song a month.
Mm-hmm.
And what was your thought process behind setting that goal for yourself?
It was just to make myself put out. It was, more geared towards the older stuff that I had just sitting in folders. Some stuff was, pretty much done. I just hadn't, taken it to the finish line. And it's worked out to be kind of half and half. Like half has been older stuff that I intended to put out with this, and then the other half has kind of been stuff that I've come up with recently, in like last 6 months or so. And for July, I had actually made a track, pretty much finished a track in a day, in a few hours, 5 or 6 hours. That was, I liked it. I thought it was pretty good. And then there's a vocalist that I was looking to work with, and so I sent it to her and to see how that's going to go. So I'm excited about that. So I ended up releasing this other track that was pretty much finished, with some Paraglider. But yeah, and then I'm doing some remixes for with Approach and I are doing remix for Lesser Pleasures. I'm still working on my remix for Corey Phillips' new record that came out in May, that I played on, and then for Ghost Mind.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Can you give us a little Ghost Mind update? I mean, we kind of thought that the EP LP would be out by now. What's going on with Eric?
I'm not sure. I just briefly message back and forth about getting the stuff for the remix. I know he's putting out the track She Left, which is the track I'm remixing, July 29th, I think. I'd have to double check. And I still need to get with him to see if I need to make that, timing sync up. I'll have to. I haven't, asked him what was up in a while, but he's been posting some stuff on Instagram. Like he's a really good writer, man. Like, some of the stuff that he's posting is just like, man, yeah, guy's good. Yeah. So
for sure, cool.
And yeah, and She Left is also. I mean, the lyrics of that track are great, and the song itself, that he is a really good song as well. So
awesome. Do you want to talk about gigs at all? I'm going to turn the show around as fast as I can, which maybe I'm going to say it's July 14th. You're going to be hearing this by July 19th at the latest. So do you have gigs you want to talk about?
Yeah. So Maria the Mexican, we're at Lemonade Park with the MGDs this Saturday. And then we have another private gig on Tuesday. Let me think. I should have had my calendar pulled up, but I was in a Journey tribute band for several years, and that hasn't. It's been a couple years since we played, and obviously last year was kind of nothing happened last year. And I don't know how many more gigs we'll play at. This might be, one of the last ones, but it's at Outlaw Howie Davidson on Saturday, July. It's either the 30th or the 31st. It's an afternoon deal.
31st, I think.
Yeah. So that'll be, Journey,
cool.
Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Corey is playing. Heavy Petty's playing, doing the Sandbar. Man, stuff's just like coming in, which is great. I mean, it's always good, man, to be gigging.
Yeah,
so,
cool.
Maria the Mexican's playing the Replay patio. So is Corey. So yeah, plenty of stuff happening.
That's all July. Oh, that's July.
No, that's in August. Yeah, all that stuff's in August.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool, Royce. What are you working on? Or are you trying not to work? Is that the plan?
I'm going on vacation. That's my big thing right now. No, but I've got lyrics to finish for both of you guys, and my own little project I've been writing. I don't know, for 5 years or so. I hope to get up to Minnesota and just chill for 2 weeks and finish some of that stuff.
Yeah.
I broke out my Roland MC 505, so I'll take it with me and make some beats or something with it. I haven't done that in a while. That'll be fun. But I love that little guy, man. I made hundreds of beats with that thing.
That's super cool.
Yep, that's it. That's about all that I've got going. I mean, I've got work. I'm mixing a track for a young artist out of Texas. That's where he's from. It's like a hip hop street, type of song or whatever. And I think that's it that I have to finish up on any type of music work. So hopefully I'll get that done by Friday.
Cool. So your non-music then, it's I know you've got podcast stuff that you do.
Yeah. So this week, because I'm going to be out of town, I've got to get through what would normally be like 3.5 weeks worth of work by Friday so that I can earn that vacation. So yeah, multiple episodes for multiple different podcasts, but it's fun, man. I'm learning a lot, so that's always good.
Cool. Well, I'm nearing a milestone on my next solo record. Record's called Fight Songs. I haven't put out a solo record in 4, 5, 6 years now. I don't remember. But this is the album I was working on when the pandemic hit. So I was getting ready to do bass when the pandemic hit. Pandemic hit, set it aside to do pandemic collaborations, which mainly ended up being Orbital Debris with Nate.
That was super fun.
That was super fun. And, you know, we've got Volume 2 started. It's out there. It will happen someday. No timeline. But ideas are out there for Orbital Debris Volume 2. But so bass is done. I've been working on guitars for several months now, I think. Electric, acoustic. I'm almost done with guitars. So I've got one song I haven't touched at all. So that's the primary thing. And then I've got a few guitar overdubs to do. And I think I'm going to take a step back, kind of do a rough mix on everything. And I've got lyrics I need to write. About half the lyrics are done. So I'm going to pause kind of once I finish guitars here. But I might finish that by next weekend. So that's cool. There's always night mode stuff to mix and master, but specifically new stuff. Royce, you came over the other night and did some vocals for a couple night mode albums. And that was extremely cool. First time we worked together. Had a lot of fun. And you really kind of brought it. You went deeper, and yeah, I told you, you were giving me much more than I expected or asked for. Not just in terms of, that could sound wrong. What I mean was, I was trying to keep I respect you so much. I was trying to keep my ask very light, right? I was trying to make it easy for you to come in, do something, and get out, and not have me hassle you too much. But you just chose to go deeper than that. And so that's a lot of fun. And we've got kind of more to do on that. There's 2 records I made a few years ago now that I just never finished. So Royce will be coming back out at some point, late summer, fall, and we'll do that. And then the other thing so once I finish these guitars, I think I'm going to switch gears a little bit and work on soldering and guitar effects. So I warmed up a little bit. I have a Caroline Meteor reverb that I wanted to do a couple mods on, and I did that the other week. So that was my warm up. And I've got 3 projects I want to work on. I've got a pair of delays I want to build, one for me and one for Drew. That's based on a PCB by a company called 1776 Effects, and I really like their stuff. Highly recommend them. And they have a very cool delay called the multiplex, which is a dual delay. And I had this idea of how to. So the multiplex has 3 modes that emulate different vintage effects. The Roland tape echo, an Echoplex, and an Echo Rec. And I love that. I built one of those a couple years ago. I love it. I love the voicing on it. It's the best voiced digital delay I've ever heard. It sounds very tapey. Yeah, the Echo Rec is one of the vintage units that it emulates.
Okay.
But it sounds fantastic, and these modes are interesting, but limiting in a way. And so I came up with this idea to, instead of the mode selection switch, make everything toggles. So instead of a 3-position mode switch, there's going to be 8 or 10 individual toggle switches to let you route these 2 echoes any way you want to. Parallel, series, the feedback can you can have no feedback, or they can feed each other back, or feed only themselves. And so it almost has like infinite, not really infinite. It probably has exponential modes instead of 3.
Gotcha.
So I'm gonna build those, and then I'm almost done. I swear. I'm gonna rebuild.
Not good.
I'm gonna rebuild the power supply for my AX60 synthesizer because it's failing. So that's just something that needs fixed. Unfortunately, there's a very generous guy online whose name I'll link to it, and just in the off chance anyone has an AX60, this guy he's on YouTube. He designed a power supply, and the PCB schematic and everything is free. So you can, for a few bucks, I don't know, $20 maybe. This is the world we live in. Amazing. There's a company in China, I don't remember which one I used off the top of my head. I downloaded the plans, sent them to this company. It was $20 or $30, and I got 4 or 5 PCBs, just in case I mess one up, right? To rebuild this power supply. So I'll get the AX60 breathing again because I really want that. And then I've got a guitar pedal planned out. I haven't breadboarded it yet, but I've got a plan for a transistor boost that is, the starting point was an old Rangemaster, which is a famous guitar boost distortion, almost fuzz effect. Tony Iommi from Black Sabbath is a famous Rangemaster user. But it's not a clone. Like I took that idea of a 1 transistor boost and tried to make it as flexible as possible. So it will do full range boost, it will do treble boost. You can adjust the bias, you can adjust the input impedance. So ideally, and I'll tweak it, before I start building them, but it'll do everything from clean, full range boost to dirty treble boost and everything kind of in between. So I'm going to take a break from recording and work on gear for a while. That long story short.
Do you record your own drums too?
Sometimes. On this particular record, I'm programming the drums with samples.
Okay.
Just because I didn't have, it's already taken 5 or 6 years, right? I didn't have time to practice up, get space at the library. I can't play drums in the townhouse here comfortably.
Right.
So that was kind of a practical choice. I would love to play them. I'm going to augment them with some, I'll do some shakers and tambourine and stuff live to kind of humanize it a little bit. Mm-hmm. But the kick snare toms is going to be programmed and sampled.
I just looked up the AX60. It sounds pretty cool. It was, they said a Kaizen to the 106.
Totally a kind of Juno-ish thing. But it does splits, which is cool.
Okay.
Let's see. Is the 106, remind me? Does it have? Does it store patches?
I did not say. Access presets fine. I don't know if that means it actually stores user patches, but
yeah, I can't remember which Junos do and don't, but this one does 64 patch memory.
I actually saw. Yeah, misunderstood.
And yeah, sounds awesome.
Okay.
The filter's not great. It just,
have you used it on anything that we've worked on or that I've heard?
I did not use it on Orbital Debris. I did use it on the Howie and Scott record, V for Voice.
Okay.
It's on a couple of those tracks, and I don't remember the track names off the top of my head. But if you've listened to that, you've heard a little bit of it.
Okay. That sounds cool, man. I want to check it out sometime.
Yeah, for sure. Once I get it right now, it's very sensitive to the chips won't tune unless the power rails are like dead on.
Oh, okay.
And they do tend to drift over time, and the power supply is kind of underbuilt. The dude who did the YouTube video and made the PCB goes into great detail on this. So the chips are actually fine, and they're like those classic Curtis chips, that are in all the synths of that era. But when the power supply starts to drift, it won't tune, and since it has like a digital scanning tuner, you basically can't play. Right now, it sounds like very thin digital noise. I mean, it sounds horrible right now.
Not even anything that's like you'd want to use like for, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I did record a couple things when it was kind of right on the edge. Okay. So once I get around to finishing and releasing the AX60 record, you can hear what it sounds like when it's on the edge.
Nice.
But it's rough. It's very like crazy robotic, anti-tonal sounding. And that only lasts for a few hours or minutes, and then it kind of like won't make hardly any noise at all.
Yeah.
And it's a matter of like 0.2 of a volt on the power rails, but that's all it takes. And that started to go. It was pre-pandemic, so I've been without it for quite a while. And I'm excited to get it back. And I want to use it on some of those Fight Songs tunes. And maybe Orbital Debris. I'm trying to, so far with the Orbital Debris Volume 2, I've stuck to my loose concept of not using any of the same gear I used on 1.
Right on.
And having this available will help me stick to that. That's not a firm commitment, but like...
No, I get it. Yeah.
So I just talked a whole bunch. That was not my plan. Let's talk about... Do you guys want to talk about gear some more, or do you want to talk about what you're listening to?
Yeah, I'll talk about gear for a second.
Yeah. What are you using?
Man, I just I got my analog rhythm. Not mine, but a analog rhythm back a couple months ago. So I sold Approach the MPC Live, which he's killing. Obviously, and he said he just loves being more mobile. Since it's got the battery, and I've been kind of maybe didn't realize it at first, but just trying to like the MPC was great, and it sounded great, and I made cool stuff with it, but like it seemed like I was kind of always trying to add a little extra or find some sort of drum program that would do certain crazy things that was just easier to do, and that would take more time than I wanted to spend like in the MPC itself. So it eventually just dawned on me that I used the rhythm a lot, and there's a reason for it. And once I got it back, I was like, yeah, this is why. So I, my plan is never to let it ever go again. It's just so fun, man. It's so fun to program, to perform. Performance is just, and the software they have, Overbridge, so you can, multi-track record into your DAW. It just makes it. It's, man. That was like, and they didn't have that out last time I had one, so it was like getting like a whole other extra, toy, on top.
How does it do that? How does it connect like that?
It's got it's called an Overbridge engine. It's USB to the analog rhythm, and then you can set your bit rate, which determines how many actual tracks you get to record, and I always leave it at 24 bits. So I have, I think, just 6, but you can set the channels that you want to go to the extra outs or to the stereo, the main stereo outs. But yeah, it's man, so fun. And I had to talk about it.
Yeah. Well, and you've already used it on some of your more recent Bandcamp tracks, right?
Yeah, man. Seems like the tracks that I've had, drums that weren't exactly what I wanted. Like, just now it's just like it's you can live play, which I really don't do a whole lot. I usually just program, step sequence everything, and so building that, and then just with all the various it's called parameter locking, so you can basically make take the sound and take whatever parameter you want, like filters, resonance, even effects and stuff, and just make it happen on one hi-hat hit, or and then randomization, you can set the percentage, or you can set the second of every four measures, or it's
How deep is the sequencer, or is it just like you create your patterns and put them on different pads, or how does that work?
Yeah, it's got 8 banks of 16 patterns.
Okay.
So, and then you can assign a kit per pattern. You can layer samples, and it's the analog engines. And like I said, it's just play like basically getting a perform as you're recording a track, and getting just the performance from the drums, muting, unmuting. You can set different scenes, so you can completely change sounds per scene. Performances, which is it's pressure sensitive, so like it will go from whatever you set on any of the parameters, and and you can do, so you can do all that, and that's I've taken a couple tracks and just programmed patterns and different effects, and all of a sudden, like, okay, that song sounds great now. Like, the drums are dope. Like, it's that's what it needed. It needed a nice drum pattern. That's and
yeah, that thing it's really an instrument in your hands. It's more than a drum machine or a set of sounds or something. You really perform. I mean, like you're saying, you really perform it, and
well, you can. I mean, there's obviously I'm not claiming to be any sort of expert at all. Like, I'm complete. I would say, maybe not a novice, but kind of maybe low, mid-range, intermediate. In what I can do with it, but that's the beauty of it. It's like it's something that you want to come in and dive into, and it's one of those instruments that you just you want to play and you want to explore, and it's the interface is very I think conducive to that too. It's once you kind of understand your key strokes, or shortcuts and things, it really is pretty efficient when you want to get something.
Royce, do you have any acquisitions lately, or stuff on your wish list that you're checking out?
I do have things on my wish list always, but nothing. I haven't purchased. That's what my goal this year I set in December is, like, I'm not going to purchase any gear that I don't have to in 2021, and just see if I can do it. But I've been experimenting with Dolby Atmos and its rendering engine and seeing what it would be like to mix, immersive audio or for film or anything like that. And I'm pretty much already there with gear, so it's just a matter of getting some time on the sticks and seeing how that goes and understanding how it works. So a lot of tutorials,
Right.
been my best friend lately. Just like studying tutorials on that because it's completely foreign. Just 20 years ago, when I came out of school doing sound for film or something like that, and like everything's different. And that thing is just massive. Just a lot to learn. So that, and then in the other space over here, we've just been trying to get to a point where we can kind of do that vision I've been talking about forever, where you bring a band in, they play, and we can get capture a recording that sounds like a studio album and not like just a live show. Not that that's bad, but that's just not the goal, And then stream that live while we're doing it. And we finally got to the point where we're in Pro Tools over there. I've got the same boards that I have over here. And everything is just like, it's just all comfortable. It's like a glove now, so I can really concentrate on mode and sound. I've got my Wave sound grid up over there, so I've got all the processing that I need in the world to kind of do that stuff. So those are a couple things I've been working on down here.
Nice. So are you ready to test the live streaming thing, or what's the next step on that?
So right now we're doing it with this group called the Broomtails, and they're kind of like folk country kind of band. We've got drums, bass, almost like a jazzy guitar kind of sound.
Okay.
Real melodic. And then he's got like a rock guitar, acoustic guitar, and 3 vocalists. And our next rehearsal with them will be in August with all this new gear. So we've done 2 so far with the gear that we had before, realized the limitations of it. I wish I could say we got rid of it, but it's all just sitting in the corner right now. And bought in these new boards, Pro Tools on that setup over there, got it all set up, went through how we want everything to flow. So we'll bring them back in, go through it again, and then hopefully on the 4th time, just capture a live show.
Yeah, you should be pretty close at that point then, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, man, like I'm just really, really comfortable with the way I've got stuff set up down here. Like I don't really ever have to think about the gear, It's like I can just pay attention to what's going on, and bringing that functionality to a live setup is I'm very excited about that, man. Like just come in and in 50 minutes, you've got an album.
Yeah.
I want to do that all day, every day of the week. You know what I mean? Like anybody. So, and the space is big. We've got a really nice big space, and you can get a good sound. So that's something that we finally got that wrapped up before vacation. Happy about that.
That could be a really attractive option for groups.
Sure.
Especially if they're well rehearsed. Just
right.
come in, bang it out.
Yeah, and now you've got.
But I mean, at the same time, you could get all the bulk of your performances down, and you could still go back. Wouldn't it be your multi-tracking recording, right?
Yeah.
So you still have those options.
Yeah, for sure, and that's the whole point, right? So you can come in, you can record down multi-track, get that mix that we're doing live. That's going to the stream, which is content that you could then take down and break into per song. So you can send out to people like, this is what my live set looks like, and I want to come to your city. So you have it for, methods of, promoting songs or whatever it is that you're trying to do. You're doing it in a short, condensed amount of time. So it's not going to cost you $10 billion to do it. You know what I mean? And you can also have photos taken there. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just when I was out doing shows, that's what I needed. You know what I mean? Because you don't have time to go. It's like, yeah, I could do this whole big Hollywood video, but I'm not going to do anything else this year if I do that. You know what I mean? And so, like, being able to have those things into your hands, and like you said, if you're performing all the time now, you just stop in. It's just another gig. You know what I mean? You show up, do your set, pack up. You don't even have to wait for files to be delivered. You know what I mean? Like, you walk out the door with your files, you know? So I just think it's the way it needs to be now in this digital world, you know? Like, it would be nice to come in and record on the SSL and take all the time in the world it takes to set that shit up, but that's just not what everybody's doing, and it doesn't make sense because we don't make the same kind of money they used to make off of those records. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, anyway.
Yeah, to do it that old way, it's really kind of a labor of love, or you have to really care about that experience and sound and everything to want to do it that way anymore.
Yeah, and just logistically, you know.
Yeah.
If you've got a band, you've got 5 or 6 people, you're lucky to be able to get 1 day a week to practice before the gig. You know what I mean? Now you want me to practice for a whole nother album or something. You have to set up and practice differently for it. It's just, I don't know. I mean, it could become an impossible thing before you have those big budgets, and those studios that are.
I mean, there's places. I mean, there's places for that, and there's artists that can do that.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's far more that can't.
I spent a lot of Sundays cleaning tape machines. You know what I mean? I'm like, that's just not a reality of what most people's lives are like, and the expense that goes along with that. Like you said, it's a labor of love because you want to do it. It's more like, you know, and not to take away from that, when you have a budget and you can do all that stuff, it's absolutely probably paramount, right? But most people just don't, you know?
Yeah.
You know, and paying the guy to come in and clean the tape machine on Monday costs money. You know what I mean? So anyway, that's the other. I got that one tightened up, and then my website.
That's dope, man.
Just getting my website to where people can book me through the website, and I can have some of the conversations I have with people over email or text or something. I think it's going to be beneficial for just me as a creative in general, right? Like, so now I can work with people all around the world, and it's just like, it'd be really difficult to do now without a method. Like, if I'm on Instagram or Facebook trying to talk to somebody about doing music offline somewhere, it's like, yeah, I don't know, you know. You're on Facebook, how official is this? You know what I mean? I think for musicians, it would be much more difficult to give someone you're not completely comfortable with your files more than your money. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I'm not sending you my music, bro. Not at all.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing on the burner.
What's I mean, I know you're not trying to buy stuff, but what's like the crazy thing on your list? Like, expense, just pie in the sky. You hit the lotto tomorrow. It's January 1, 2022. You got this money burning a hole in your pocket. What are you getting?
Well, I'm definitely getting the Focusrite R1, which would be, imagine the center console for my Focusrite Red setup with a Focusrite 16, I think is what it's called, or the RedNet 16, which would give me another 16 in and outs, both on DB25 connectors, so I can go like right into my patch bay.
Okay.
And then pick up the Dangerous Music. What is it called? But it's essentially like a mastering EQ compressor type deal, so that I can run all of my stems out of my session through this dangerous box and just give it some analog character and sound in a very natural and honest way, and then record down to, back into Pro Tools. So those are definitely the things that I would pick up. And then what that also allows me to do, because now I'll have more ins and outs in a setup like that, is to set up for the immersive audio, like what's the next step going to be? What's that going to look like? Even if they're just tiny, well, Genelec makes a range of speakers that carry the same color and use DSP to kind of like figure out the problems in your room. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that I could even entertain something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the technology inside of Dolby Atmos works with that in some way. Don't quote me on how that works, but those would be the two things that I think for sure I would do, just because that just intrigues me. Like, what can we do with music in a way that we've never done it before? You know what I mean? Like, I remember listening to, I think it was Thriller, and you could hear in the song the footsteps walk across the speakers, and just thinking like how cool that was. But what if those footsteps walked up behind you in song? You know what I mean? Stuff like that would just be really, really interesting. And 7.2 as opposed to, I've only ever mixed in 5.1 whenever doing audio for film. So it'd be nice to just see what that's like and go home and see if it translates,
I have two little mastering questions for you. So do you typically get stems versus the stereo file when you master?
I usually am the one mastering. Like, I'm usually the one that mixed it.
Okay.
But when I get it from other people, it's typically always just the 2-track. It would be nice to have the stems. Approach usually sends me the stems. He's the only person I know that does that. He'll usually send me all the stems and let me have a little free reign. Because theoretically, if it's bounced out right, the whole mix comes right back. So if I don't need the stems, I don't need them, but they're there.
Yeah. And so is that how you're thinking when you're mixing stuff that you'll be mastering yourself? Of course, you're doing a full mix and everything, but you're thinking, okay, I'm just going to render this to stems just in case I want to do something in the master?
Yes, and also to give to the artist so they have the stems. So if they ever want to master something different later, or if they want to recreate something on stage, like, I just set up so that I can deliver all that stuff to them in the same process.
Right. You can do an instrumental, you can do an acapella. It's all right there. Sure. That makes sense. Okay. Then other question, like, in a super generic way, like, what's your typical mastering chain like? And do you normally do a hybrid? Do you go out to analog normally, or do you do it all in the box right now?
I've done some stuff where I've gone out of the box and just using like my EQ and converters on this Focusrite, just to kind of like soften something up that I feel like it just still feels digital. You know what I mean? But I don't do that a lot just because the difference in output and input on this device specifically is like off by like 6 dB. And so I've got to give it boost or gain somewhere in order to do that. So I'm usually only doing that if I feel like this just sounds like it was mixed in a computer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I need to change some of that kind of vibe. So I usually do everything inside the box. The way I set it up is in Pro Tools, I'll have the channel that I call the song channel, which is where the audio is playing. I'll put like a limiter on that channel just to make sure that, like, I know it says it's peaking at, -10 or -12 or whatever, but I want to make sure, because any of that peak is going to affect the way my EQs and stuff respond to it, right? So I want to make sure I have like a consistent level. I don't bring it down to the sound. I do it just enough to where I'm like, okay, that's enough over. I can't see anything, I can't really hear anything audibly, but I want to make sure no peaks come through. And that'll be on my sound channel. And then I'll take that and I'll run that into a bus that I call my process bus. And that's where I'll do like an EQ, stuff. Did I lose you? Okay. Maybe some spatial stuff, and tighten up some compression or anything that I feel like are like kind of like problem things.
Sure, anything the song needs. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I have a print track that I print to after that. You know what I mean? And if I have some things that I just want to do creatively, I'll do it on there. I usually have my master. I love the L316. I've used it for 20 years, maybe that's why I love it. But it does what I really enjoy without color. You know what I mean? And it does give some warmth and some crispness if that's what a track needs. And then I go to a print track. And then next to that print track, I usually have a reference track. And then, playing from like Spotify or whatever, so I can kind of like A/B back and forth. But the other reason why I like to do that process bus like that is because then I can level match like what I've done coming out of the process bus with what the original mix sounds like. So it's like, I don't get too crazy if I don't want to or something like that, or go too far away from, apparently the mix that's in front of me is what the artist is happy with, right? So
yeah.
I don't want to get too far away from that. I just want to kind of enhance it and I like to have that on a button, so that's why I do the process bus like that.
For sure. Yeah, that makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I mean, I've gone back and forth, but I haven't had like the mix and what I was trying to master for whatever reason.
Yeah, man, they say some of the best oral memory is like up to 6 seconds. You know what I mean? So, you get 3-4 seconds into switching to something else, it's not a true reference. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So if you can level match it and kind of like go back and forth and hear it, like that for me is like 90% of the work, because it tells you what it needs. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, okay, yeah, I don't like that, or the original mix is a little muddy. I don't want the bass to be gone, but I want it to meld a little bit. So, I turn these knobs and either that did it or it didn't. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And the only way to know that is to go back to that original track like quickly and hear it. And then hear that against a reference track, all within 5 or 6 seconds. You know what I'm saying? So that's why, I mean, it's a little bit of setting up, especially like if you're doing an album, and you're trying to make sure all the songs across the whole album kind of also work together. You know what I'm saying? Don't sonically take on, I feel like in the 70s, that was like a big thing. Like you'd be listening to this song and then all of a sudden it was like a completely different fucking song. And you're trying to figure out like what's happening. And in 2 or 3 minutes, you just can't do that to people. That's why their songs are like 10 minutes, So, but that's how I kind of learned to do it over the years. I have been toying around with the idea of using, and I actually purchased some of the isotope stuff just to get some of like that data-driven things, like what are they saying, and if that even is it relevant? You know what I mean? Like if I do my own mix and then kind of take like their guide, what our master, and kind of take their guide, like how close did it get me to what I was thinking, and all that kind of stuff, just to see. But I haven't done it yet.
Yeah, I think it's always kind of interesting to see what the computer thinks, or what the algorithm likes or doesn't like, how loud it thinks it is or whatever. But yeah, to me, that's just information, right? Like I might use that to inform my choices, but it's never going to determine what I end up doing.
Right. But it would be nice to. I always think like I wish I could be in another engineer's head as they're having the thoughts. You know what I mean? Like in order to communicate, you have to kind of formulate your thoughts. But I'd like to be there when the lights are flashing, and I think that's kind of what's happening with the algorithms. And at least, if nothing else, it gives me a different perspective, right? Like when you're doing stuff, you're always trying to find a new way to do what you're doing, and it's like what, $50, and I got a guy who's going to tell me every time what he thinks about my mix. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I figured I'd try that out, but that's usually, that's something you have to do on your own time. It's not, hey, I'm going to fuck around with isotope on your clock,
Right.
Like nobody's going for that. It's like, just do the shit that you know how to do and send it to me.
But yeah, I mean, the worst that can happen is you learn something, right?
Right. And even if, I guess the worst thing is you learn that you wasted $50, right?
For sure, yeah.
Yeah, they've had. I have some of the isotope stuff. Just picked it up, over years, and like most of the time it's just like, well, I on a mix it'll just kind of like show that it'll cut, make some cuts like in that low mid range area, the cut where that mud is. It does that. So that kind of tells me like I need to work on that. But yeah, I for whatever reason, like I just kind of stopped using that because I felt like, I just need to maybe reference more or something and try to figure it out on my own. I'm sure. I think it's valuable, but I want it to stay away from having that make the decision for me versus me kind of just figuring that out.
I hear you. I guess I hadn't thought about it like that. Like for me, I just,
not that you should do it whatever it says, obviously.
Right.
But
and I just would be interested in hearing constant feedback on a regular basis. It's like I can send you a track, but there's a human cost to it, right? You got to be in a place that you can listen to it, just time wise, space wise, or are you doing it with a million other things? But I just think it's another way to reference it. Just kind of how I looked at it. It's like, okay, well, I am listening to other people's music. I'm listening to it on headphones. I'm listening to it on my iPhone. I'm doing all the things, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So maybe there's another tool out there that also gives me some feedback on what it is that I'm doing. And I know Pure Mix, man, they have a community where you can upload your mix and people will give input and thoughts on your mix and stuff. But it's like, that's weird to me just because I got to be like, hey, I want to upload your song that I just mixed for you to some random website where you don't know what the controls are or anything like that. So it's got to be probably something that I did on my own or, something of that nature, which.
Man, I've thought about doing that. And like Reddit has communities where you can, post and listen to other tracks, give feedback and get feedback on yours. And I that's something I should probably try to do too. Just to get an outside perspective. Cause, I think either both of you guys would be honest, if I was like, hey, what do you think? You would, be able to say what's good and what's bad, and I would trust you for sure. But you're also, my friends, and so maybe you're not being as, as harsh as you would be, or not harsh, but as, I don't know.
I disagree. I think friends don't let friends put out bad records. You know what I mean?
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. The trust makes the honest feedback possible.
Yeah, for sure.
More than, a stranger or someone who you don't know so well. We're getting real close to an hour. This has gone by really fast. So maybe this is something that works. I want to give one little master. So with the mastering, with the like AI EQ and stuff, one little trick I think that's good for anyone out there. So if you're trying to master and your EQ, your AI says, the low mids need a cut or something, my recommendation, if you're working on your own stuff, don't cut in the stereo master. Go back to your mix.
Right.
Find the instrument that's thick in there.
Yeah.
And cut the individual track.
Yeah.
I think most times you get a better result that way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's, that's where I kind of wanted to go when I was talking about that. But yeah, exactly right. Like, it just tells you like there's something in the mix that you're not addressing, that makes.
And if you're the mastering engineer and the mixing engineer, you can reject that mix as many times as you want.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, that's just the reality of it. And, and things, and remember that these are frequencies, but these frequencies are like keys on a piano. You know what I mean? And not like digital descriptions that are universal, right? So like that would be the thing, especially like with bass and that low mid bass that we're talking about. I mean, it's always going to be in a certain range, right? But just recognize that might be a B flat, and that's what B flats sound like when they're all being played together. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
That kind of thing too. Like, it's still music. Don't forget that. It's kind of what I'm saying. Because for years I chased frequencies, not really correlating them to the instrument that was playing. Well,
yeah, I mean, and you're also trying to find the area where you want that instrument to sound in whatever particular. I mean, if you're not going to necessarily cue Rhodes the same way on every single song, you're going to
exactly.
Whatever the quality of the Rhodes is for the track, you're going to want to bring that out and then work around that. Whatever is the main instrument, obviously you're working around that. But yeah. I hear what you're saying there.
Good advice. Well, fellas, 24 episodes. Never imagined that we'd go this far.
24. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, this is number 24. I don't know exactly. I'm just looking at the file. Catlin was 23. I guess that was 2 episodes, so this might be 25. It might be 26. I don't know exactly. However many, it's 20 odd more than I thought there would be. So that's cool, and I'm looking forward to the break, and I'm looking forward to getting back at it. We've got some very exciting artists kind of tentatively lined up for the fall. So good stuff comes.
About a year. Do you have in front of you the first episode? That was either Night Mode or Orbital Debris.
I think it was
Orbital Debris was number 1, and yeah, I mean it was like September, maybe October, but maybe September. So yeah, we're coming up on a year.
Yeah, so yeah, maybe when we come back, that'd be about the year anniversary. We ought to do something cool.
We should do that.
Start off with a celebration.
That's a good idea. Maybe just line up a bunch of great records in a row. I know we're talking to a bunch of really exciting artists. I'm working up the nerve to reach a little bit and ask some artists that are, kind of regional maybe, or like a little bit, not to, how much I love Lawrence, but I'm just saying, like, I feel like I'm excited to stretch, and what's the worst they can say, right?
Mm-hmm. Got you. Yeah, I'm all about it.
Cool. Well, good stuff coming. I'll, of course, talk to you guys regularly, but thanks for everyone who's been listening. This has been a blast, and we will see you all again in September. Later, everybody.